Hi guys, I know you've been waiting for updates on UK visas, and the good news is that the UK government announced a whole bunch of updates, which is what we're covering today. Without wasting any more time, I'm Ashika and let's dive in. Alright, so the first change comes with mixed feelings. Let me explain. So the minimum salary for eligible jobs has been increased to match the current inflation rates. At the moment, companies that are licensed sponsors are allowed to sponsor certain jobs if they meet the criteria that is set by the government, including the minimum wage requirements. Now, this minimum wage is set to increase from the 12th of April 2023. Now, like I said, this is a good and a bad thing, and let me explain why it's a bad thing first. With the minimum wage increasing, it now means that recruiters or employers need to pay their employees a higher wage per hour, which might be a bit of a hassle if you think about it, because they now effectively are going to spend more. So some recruiters who aren't really keen on spending too much may rethink the entire decision of hiring from outside the UK. On the flip side, the good thing about the salaries increasing is that as an employee or as a worker, you now stand to make more money, which is something you absolutely need, keeping in mind the inflation rates in the UK. Under the skilled worker route, the general salary threshold will increase from £25,600 to £26,200. The minimum salary will also increase from £20,480 to £20,960. Under the senior or specialist worker, which is the global business mobility route, the salary threshold will increase from £42,400 to £45,800. For graduate trainees, the threshold will increase from £23,100 to £24,220. Under the scale-up worker route, the salary threshold will increase from £33,000 to £34,600. Next up, let's talk about changes to the Youth Mobility Scheme. In the case of New Zealand, the age range is being expanded from 18 to 30 years to 18 to 35 years. And the length of stay is being increased from 2 years to 3 years. And that is absolutely brilliant. Australia has also been granted 5,000 extra places, and New Zealand will benefit from 2,000 extra places. Apart from this, Australian candidates no longer need to show work experience for the past year. Now, if you're Indian, there is no update on the Youth Mobility Scheme or the Young Professionals Scheme for July at this point. But considering the changes being made to Australia and New Zealand, one can definitely be hopeful for the July ballot. The next changes come to the seasonal worker visa. Now, in case you aren't aware of what this visa is, the seasonal worker visa is a temporary visa that allows you to move to the UK and work in the UK for up to 6 months in certain categories. Changes are being made to the seasonal worker route to amend the minimum rate of hourly pay to reflect the increases to the national minimum wage and the national living wage from April 2023. Seasonal workers will need to be paid at least £10.42 for each hour worked. There will also be a new minimum guaranteed hours requirement for seasonal workers working in horticulture, keeping it in line with requirements for seasonal poultry workers. For horticulture workers and seasonal poultry workers, the minimum guaranteed hours will be set at 32 hours per week. And that's actually really brilliant, because if you remember a previous video I had made, there were certain employers that had been covered in the news that would bring overseas nationals to work in the UK under the seasonal worker visa, and they would promise them X number of hours, and obviously your salary is paid according to the number of hours you worked in this category, and they would not give them enough work to meet those number of hours. So in the end, they were effectively being paid a lot less, and they had no option. So this is definitely good news. Before we go ahead, a quick reminder to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button and click on the bell icon for notifications. The next changes come with regards to an ILR, which is an indefinite leave to remain, which is similar to a PR, which allows you to stay indefinitely in the UK. Under the current rules, you can apply for an ILR if you've lived in the UK under certain visas for 5 continuous years, or legally in the UK for 10 continuous years, which is known as long residence. Changes are being made to the settlement path to make the definition of what constitutes lawful residence in long residence rules easier to understand and better represent the purpose of the long residence route. Under the new rules, any time spent on immigration bail will not count towards these 10 years and can't be used to apply for settlement. The changes will also not allow time as a visitor, as a short-term student on the seasonal worker routes to count towards long residence. So any time spent in the UK on a visa which is for less than 12 months, or in the case where you can't switch from that visa to any other visa, will not count towards settlement. So what's basically happening is that the government is making changes to the innovator route, which then makes the startup visa route obsolete, and all the changes will be implemented to the new innovator founder route. The brilliant thing about this is that the changes to the innovator route make it easier for founders to qualify and establish a business in the UK, while also allowing them to take on outside work to support themselves while waiting for businesses to start generating an income. The other good thing is that under this route, applicants will no longer need to show that they have at least £50,000 minimum funds to establish their business, which is currently required under the innovator route. This also means that rules for existing restrictions on innovator migrants engaging in employment outside the running of their business will be relaxed, as long as the secondary employment is in a skilled role. This obviously now means that no more applications for the startup route will be taken in unless where they're supported by endorsements before the 13th of April 2023. Next up, we have changes to the global talent route. The global talent category is for individuals who are leaders and individuals who are promising in the fields of science, digital technology, and arts and culture, and are wishing to work in the UK. Talent applicants are already leaders in their field, and promise applicants have shown a lot of potential to become leaders in those fields. Various changes are being made to the endorsement criteria and evidential requirements to reflect feedback and recommendations from the endorsing bodies for the route, and to clarify the consideration process for applications. Updates are also being made to the Global Talent Prestigious Prize list. Applicants who hold a qualifying prize will qualify without the need to obtain an endorsement from one of the global talent endorsing bodies. And the last update is in terms of visiting the UK. Citizens of specific countries will be made to fill out an application form and pay a fee before traveling to the UK. An electronic travel authorization, or an ETA, is a new requirement for people who don't require a visa to come to the UK. It gives you permission to travel to the UK and is electronically linked to your passport. The ETA, or the Electronic Travel Authorization Scheme, will apply to third country national passengers visiting the UK or transiting through the UK who do not currently need a visa for short stays, as well as those traveling under the creative worker route for a short stay. If you belong to Qatar, you will need an ETA if you're traveling to the UK from the 15th of November 2023. You'll also need an ETA if you are traveling to the UK from any of these countries from the 22nd of Feb 2024: Bahrain, Jordan, Kuwait, Oman, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. And the ETA will last for 2 years. Now here's the thing, if you do plan on working in the UK, I definitely recommend trying to understand how UK work visas are structured, what their requirements are, which ones you're eligible for, and what you can apply for. If you'd like to know more, watch this.